salad, I guess, right?
Well,
or that was the foxhole one.
That was the foxhole
Yeah.
one.
This Amateur Radio Roundtable is brought to you in part by ICOM America.
All right, good evening to everybody out there. Let me turn a little ticker off here. There we go. Welcome to Amateur Radio Roundtable. This is Tuesday, April 21st. Boy, I'm having trouble with the time here. April 21st. Boy, the time is just flying here. You're watching Amateur Radio Roundtable. If you're watching on W5KUB. But we're also simulcasting the audio right now on International Shortwave Station, WBCQ, out of Monticello, Maine. And we're on 5130 kilohertz. And I just tuned it in a few minutes ago prior to the show during our music, and it was coming into Memphis. Pretty good signal tonight. So if you're listening out there on WBCQ, this is a ham radio show. Would love to have you join us either on the internet or you can continue listening. If you have internet capability, you can go to w5kub.com and you can join the video show, and we also have a chat room where you can join us there. We'd love to hear from you. Send an email to tom@w5kub.com and let us know where you are and how you're hearing the station. Had a pretty good net tonight, 40-meter net. We had quite a few check-ins, a little bit of QRM, a lot of static, but we had quite a number of check-ins. And we just want to remind everybody about our net. It's at 5:30 p.m. Central Time on Tuesdays on 7180. Join our Facebook group. We've got about 9,500 people in our Facebook group. I think we had 300 people join it this week. So join it, and it's ham radio related only. It's not personal. It's 9,500 ham radio operators, and it's pretty active Facebook group. A lot of the people, and I just want to say this one more time, a lot of people are asking to be friends with me on Facebook, and I just don't approve those. I see Farhan. Hey Farhan, how you doing? I was worried about you. Anyway, hey Farhan just joined us. Anyway, a lot of people ask to be friends with me on Facebook, and I limit it pretty much to just local family, close family, because I can't handle 9,500 new friends on my personal Facebook group. So if you want to talk with me on Facebook, I'm at our ham radio Facebook group, W5KUB. So, okay, well, I was having a little trouble thinking. Now, Dave's with us tonight. I talked to Katie earlier. Katie was going to try to join us, but I don't think she has made it. So we'll not worry too much about Katie. And I was real worried about Farhan. Our guest tonight is Ashhar Farhan from India, and we always have trouble with the time with Farhan. You know, they got half-hour time zones, and some of these countries have 15-minute time zones, and it's like crazy trying to figure out the time. But anyway, he is here, and he's looking good there. It's early there. And we'll touch on this a little later. I just want to mention briefly here, everybody's been following our balloon launch this week. We've been up 6 days. Last night we were over mid-China. We were just going into China last night. There were some majorly big storms where we were. And we saw the altitude go down from 44,000 to 39,000. That's not bad if it doesn't keep going, but we lost our sunlight at that time, so we don't know what happened. It's kind of like tune in next week. So It's daylight right now. It's starting to be daylight right now, this moment in mid China. So if we're going to come alive, we're going to come alive during the show here. And so if you guys watch Whisper and if you see it come alive, let me know in the chat room. I kind of think we lost it. We were doing so good, flying at 45,000 the entire way, all the way across the ocean and Africa and the Middle East and into China. So anyway, if we did lose it, our show's commitment is we're going to keep going till we keep going and make it. And we've got W5KUB-18 ready to move out to the launch pad to start another round around. So we'll talk more about that later. Let's go out to our remote guest here, and to our remote guest, and also to our other co-host here, Dave. And let's see what's going on out here. So let's see. I need to adjust. Let me adjust some pictures here. Get you guys in here. That might work right there. Okay. Hey, Dave, how you doing, man? Are you surviving out there with this pandemic thing? Dave, can you hear me?
Oh, I thought you were talking to Ashhar.
No, I'm talking to you. How you doing out there, man?
I'm out here in Colorado. There's lots of political falderall about when to reopen the state, and the governor seems to want to do it sooner rather than later. So some of the restrictions may be lifted as soon as next week. And I think my wife and I are going to be pretty conservative about where we go, though.
Well, we got to open someday, and I tell you, it's different everywhere. I think some people could be working, but oh man, we just got to be careful. That's for sure.
Yeah, we haven't hit our peak out here yet.
Okay. Well, let me. I've been told to turn your audio up a little bit more. I will try it right there. So you hadn't hit your peak yet. When you guys expecting it?
Oh, within a week or so, I'm sure. I want to get back to doing some flight training. I had a grand total of one lesson with an instructor pilot, and then the curtain came down with all the COVID stuff. So I've been doing ground school in the meantime, and continuing to do my one video a day during the COVID-19 period. I missed Sunday, but 6 out of 7 days got the video up. And I think people appreciate that. It's just a little something about ham radio every day.
Well, that's good, and you can really keep busy doing that. I know, and I don't do really any real editing or anything. All your stuff is so nice and edited and put together properly. Ours is kind of take it as it is,
Yeah.
But I think you got some help. Don't you have an intern or someone helping you there?
Well, I'm about to lose her. She is about to graduate from high school, and in early May, she's headed back east for an internship of some sort. Whoever gets her is going to get a real gem. She is bright, and you just sort of point her at a task, and she figures out how to do it and makes it work. And I've come to really rely on her, and now she's going to disappear. So I'll be looking for someone else.
Well, all right. Well, keep up the good work there, and don't work yourself to death on all the videos that you're doing. I'm getting some buzzing here. I hear. I don't know what's going on. Well, we'll see how the audio. We'll see how the audio goes. Let's see.
Okay. Yeah, there's some weird
stuff going on. Is it
buzzing on your audio?
Yeah. That was not good.
That was pretty bad.
All right. So all right, something's going on kind of crazy. I'm going to change wireless mics real quick just to change to see if that's causing some of the problems, but I don't think it is. Okay. right, so I'm back now, and we'll try this mic and see if this helps me a little bit. All right, if you hear it get funny again, let me know there. All right, well look, hey, we got a special guest tonight. Ashhar Farhan is with us. Let's see. Let me see. Get his call right. Is it VU2? Is that right? Farhan.
Right, that's right. That's
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
VU2 ESE, and I'm still hearing that funny noise. All right. Interesting.
Hey, morning, guys.
Who is that? Oh, hey. Yeah, okay. There we go. Okay. Well, look. You know, Ashhar is the or I will call you Farhan. Okay. I think
Yeah.
that's what people usually call you, right?
Right. That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
right.
So everybody probably knows you as the man behind the BITX 40, which
Yeah.
Dave is
That goes.
holding up there,
Yeah.
and also the micro BITX, which are fine little kit type sideband radios. They are just great to build and play with, and very reasonable. But you know, a lot of things over time has come from ham radio. A lot of inventions and different things and technology has come, and you're working on something a little different that kind of goes along with the pandemic here. Tell us, and I've got a video to run too. You want to tell us what you're
Yeah.
doing there?
Yeah. All right. This is really a project that was initiated by Gordon Gibby. He's Kilo X-ray 4 Zulu, KX4Z, and he's down there in Newberry, Florida. So he actually is a BitX builder and fairly active on our forum. And about a month ago, maybe less, maybe about 20 days ago, he posted on the web on a group saying that we are a bunch of doctors here in University of California, and we're trying to get the design for a ventilator going, and they needed help. So a couple of us jumped right in. So we are a group of about 7-8 hams, and there are a lot of non-hams also involved in it. So we've got an open source ventilator going. The project's name is OS Vent, and we are trying to see how an emergency use ventilator can be built by sort of scratch built, completely homebrewed.
Yeah.
That's the idea. And we're basically trying to see whether that could be used, when there is a peak in the amount of, patients who come into hospitals and they get overwhelmed and there aren't enough ventilators. And what's happened is, funnily enough, that during these 15 days, more and more information has come out about what kind of ventilation is required. So it just turns out that you do not need the full-fledged ventilators which are available in the hospitals, but a specific kind of ventilation is required for these patients, and that's what we've been working on. So when the lockdown happened, I was actually sort of all set to enjoy myself. I have a fairly well-stocked junk box and a lot of, I'm the king of unfinished projects, so there are all these projects flying around me, and I was thinking of doing something or the other, revving up my software skills, trying to write a software-defined radio from scratch. There are all these kind of things which I had lined up, but what finally happened was that we started building this ventilator. So it's actually a sort of a relay team between what's happening in Florida, Jack is up there in New York, and me here. So by the time I go to sleep, I push the latest, hardware design and the software to Jack, and Jack cleans it up and then hands it over to Gordon, and then Gordon does something, and by the time I get up, then he's ready to go to sleep, and he pushes the latest requirements back to me. So it's actually fun working on this, but it's one of the few projects all my life which I hope never has to be used.
So there could be a big need for ventilators. You know, that's been the thing everybody's been talking about. And I don't know what kind of shape India is in, but you guys are looking ahead, I guess, to try to meet the need if India needs a lot of ventilators. And ventilators, I understand, are very expensive, but you've built this thing with an Arduino, I think, right?
Yeah, I mean, Arduino is central to it, but the thing is that getting the mechanics built is really the main thing. And I'm sitting here in a lockdown, and I'll just briefly tell you what happened with India. So India should have actually gone to lockdown probably about 10, 15 days earlier, and we would have managed to flatten the curve very quickly. So when we went into the lockdown, it's a complete lockdown, by the way. I mean, I can't get out of my neighborhood.
Yeah.
I'm not allowed to. Okay, so it's a very massive lockdown. There's police at every corner. It's almost like a curfew, right? I mean, essentially, it's called lockdown, but it's a curfew. So we were just given 4 hours notice, and bang, it just came down on us. And that's actually led to a crisis of a very different sort, which is that about 80% of India earns their wage on a day-to-day basis. So for example, if there is a taxi driver, the taxi driver essentially takes home the money that they earn on that particular day for next day's survival. And what's happened is that because of this lockdown, the daily wage earners are just unable to make their ends meet. There's a lot of starving going on, and as a result, there's also now a lot of backlash against this lockout. But I understand that without this lockout, there'll be a huge cost to be paid otherwise in terms of deaths from coronavirus. And the other thing is that we are testing very little, just a couple of people per million. We should have been testing at least 100 per million, right? So we do not know the correct figures. And now it's come to a stage where I know someone who knows someone who's got virus. So I'm assuming that the virus is actually, more prevalent than they're reporting. But on the other side, I mean, we have created a sort of a pod among ourselves here at home. I mean, my house is a fairly large household. My daughters are back home. The school's down, and so we as a family are actually fairly well off, and well set, I should say. And the local hams are actually being pretty active. Yesterday, I found out that a very close friend of mine, Amar, Victor United 2 Alpha Alpha Papa, so he posted a video on our club group where he scratch built a satellite antenna without even having a measurement scale, right? And he's been able to go through AO92 on a daily basis. So
Wow.
yeah, it was really amazing that he could do that without, even having a measurement tape to measure stuff with. So he basically put up a ground plane, and he's able to go through the satellite. So I mean, there's a lot of happiness going around with small projects which people are building. Someone else has built an active antenna and stuff like that. So there's some bit of homebrewing going on. There are 2 daytime nets now in south of India, and they are fairly active. There's someone you can always tune in and chat with or blabber with that you know.
All right.
So for ham radio, it's a good happy time, but there are ominous clouds looming around us.
Well, hey, Farhan, let's show this video that shows you operating this home designed ventilator. And I thought it was kind of neat because you've got a vacuum cleaner hooked to it just to test it. That's kind of cool. So let's we're going to play that video. So here we go. We're going to play it.
OS vent, and I'm going to show you how it works. So first I have an on-off switch here with which I can turn the ventilation on and off. And then here I can actually go up or down with the pressure here. As you can see, this is the pressure going up and down, or I can change it to breaths per minute, or I can change it to the inhale exhale ratio, which is right now set to 1:1. So with the function button, I can switch between these parameters and set each of these parameters up or down. Then I have two outputs here, solenoid A and B, which can be connected to valves which are connected for inhalation and exhalation tubes. But in this particular version of the ventilator, I am going to use a vacuum cleaner as the source of compressed air. So this is my old vacuum cleaner, and this is actually connected on the back, as you can see here, to the ventilator controller. And this can switch the vacuum cleaner on and off. And this is the pipe coming from the vacuum cleaner. And this here is an interesting thing. So this is completely open, but because the rush of the air goes through this, little of it escapes this side. But when the lung, and this is my test lung, when this test lung collapses during the acceleration phase, then the air comes out through this and exits from here. Here I have mounted the BMP180. You can see the sensor mounted inside it, and I've sealed this with sellotape, and I've put a strip around it to seal it. You don't really require a very high degree of sealing here because the pressures that we're talking about are not too much. Now I'm going to switch on the ventilator. It's going to be a little noisy, but I want you to see a couple of things. First, around here you will be able to see the pressure building up, and after this there will be temperature, and you can also see the graph of the pressure going up and down. Now it sort of maintains an average of 14 centimeters of pressure. Let me actually increase that a little more. It's about 16 or so. And then if it goes above it or if it goes below it, there's going to be an alarm. So let's start. It's going to be noisy, so you'll not be able to hear me until I stop it again. So that's how it works, and this is one of the configurations. In another video I will show you how this works with AmbuBack.
All right. That is really interesting. It kind of reminded me of a micro BITX when I first looked at
So
it.
the question really is that can you build
This video.
can
Here we go. Yeah, it kind of reminded me of one of the earlier things that you'd worked on, the micro BICs. You know?
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
what's your plans?
Yeah.
What's your plans with this now? Are you going to be able to? Are you guys going to try to make it in quantities, and is somebody going to use it?
Okay. So the plan right now is this: that when we started, probably except for Gordon, who knew it all along, I thought, okay, this is essentially an adaptation. Oh, actually, it does look like the micro-BITX, right?
Yeah.
So just adopt this hardware, add the pressure sensor, add a couple of solenoids to switch them on and off. I mean, instead of BITX switching the relays on and off, you just have to switch these solenoids on and off, and we are done. But as it turns out that the challenges required to get the ventilation going are far more serious, right? I mean, if a BITX hangs up, no harm done. You just switch the rig off and switch it on again. But if that happens to a ventilation, someone might actually die. So we had to, have all sorts of alarms, all sorts of level checks, etc. And we had to keep throwing this in. And what actually came handy to me at this point in time was the fact that, we had built 2 satellites in the last 1 year, the AI sat and the Exceed sat. The AI sat it's still up, it's sort of fading, but it's still up. And both of them were based on Arduino. I don't know of any other space mission which actually used it. So we actually spend a lot of time getting the Arduino to work robustly, and that actually was useful here. The plan is this, that this is an open source ventilator, right? I mean, all the circuits and hardware, and this time including the PCB, are actually available on GitHub. And right now, what happened is when we took this design to the FDA actually does not approve a design, by the way. It approves a product which is manufactured under certain conditions of the factory, etc., etc. So what you have to do is, instead of getting it approved by FDA for regular use, and it of course is not meant for regular, alternative for a ventilator, but when a ventilator is not available. So in that case, there is an emergency use application which you have to file with the FDA saying that, this is stuff which is, meant to be used only under emergency when there is nothing else available. So if some person is going to die unless this machine works, that's when you use it. Okay, it's like using a tourniquet or something like that, right? If there's been an accident on the highway and you do not have the ambulance coming in anytime soon, what do you do? So there are certain procedures which will have to be done probably by people who are not qualified to be medical doctors, but nevertheless there are procedures. So it's under that sort of a zone that the FDA is actually looking at it. So once the FDA looks at it and says, yep, this is good to go, then this design will be made public, and we'll be able to go out and say that, you can use this. And I hope that a lot of people start manufacturing it. I'm not sure whether we'll be able to start doing that in India, because our lockdown is so severe that nothing is coming in from China. So once that happens, then we can even start doing that. Yeah.
So I know this is not the very same ventilator as some of the big expensive ones, but it will still work and save lives. Like you said, people need different types of ventilators. Yeah. So I assume the regular ventilators that we're trying to get for everyone now probably cost, I don't know, I'm guessing $50,000. I don't know.
Yeah.
What do
it's
you,
about
what do you think
$20,000.
this? What do you think this will cost to produce?
Well, okay. Let me just explain to you how this works, right? So we need some source of compressed air. Okay. So in a hospital setting, every hospital bed, you must have seen there is a small thing on the wall with a hole from where compressed oxygen is brought out. Okay, so it's already available there. So the typical use case in a hospital setting would be that you use this, you take the oxygen from there and you put it through one of these valves. I don't know whether you guys can see this. So this is typically it's a solenoid,
yes, a valve,
which goes
yeah,
up and down, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it basically controls the flow. So it essentially will control the oxygen flow through this, and this is connected to our the air passes through this then. Mm-hmm. The air and oxygen. Okay, and there is actually a very small sensor built in here, which measures the pressure. So we just monitor the pressure and see to it that the pressure is within the limits during the inhalation phase, and then it drops when push the air out of the lung. So that's how it works, and that's all there is to the hardware, apart from of course the Arduino based control, and the Arduino based control is actually pretty cheap. So if you look at it that way, I would imagine that this can be done for about $100 probably. $100 is what it will take, or probably even less, to put it together.
Wow. All right.
Yeah.
So do you see this being used around the world, or were you mainly designing it to help India out?
No. Actually, it's the other way around. This will probably be used first in the USA, mm-hmm. Then in India, simply because they are up ahead. Gordon and his gang, they already have 25 circuit boards in place, and they're actually doing extensive testing there. Whereas in India, as I said, because of the lockdown, we are unable to get through the parts, etc. Number one. Number two is that our, the Indian Council for Medical Research, ICMR, has actually not put out anything which is equivalent of the emergency use application. So there is nothing which is working here. What we are hopeful is that once US FDA approves this design for emergency use, we can bring those papers in and show it to the Indian authorities and ask them to clear this as well for Indian usage. So that's how.
Okay,
That's
well,
where
great.
it stands.
Well, hey, it's great that you're taking your engineering skills, and the ham radio amateur radio operators are involved in putting something together like this, designing it, and it's going to help people. And you know, a lot of things come from ham radio over the last 100 years. A lot of neat things, and I'm not even sure. Maybe even TV came from ham radio. It seemed like maybe it did. I don't know, but there are a lot of smart people out there, such as you and the other guys working on this project in the ham radio arena, and it's great. So, is there anything else you're working on ham radio wise? You got any new? Now you've improved the micro BICs, I think, haven't you?
Oh yeah. Our production has been halted for the last 3 weeks. I don't know when it will resume. We have some stock of the microbitics, and as soon as the DHL starts accepting shipments, we'll start pushing that out. But that's sort of stalled for the time being. Probably it gives people one more reason to go and brew something on their own from scratch. Let's hope that this blows over
of course,
sooner than later.
I built the earlier models, and Dave's got one there too. That Dave has built one or two of them. But my question is, have you simplified it even more? Are you actually attaching wires and plugs to parts where stuff plugs together now?
Yeah. So now all the plugs are on the circuit board itself. The piece that Dave is holding in his hand, that's actually the one. Yeah, that's the one.
Let me bring
and it's got all the controls on the circuit board itself, except for the tuning encoder, and you don't have to solder anything anymore. It just plugs in. That's it.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, it takes about 15-20 minutes to plug it in. I think Dave took about 10 minutes to plug it in. That's what I had heard.
I took my time and filmed it to make a video, so it took me about an hour.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, a neat little radio. The first BITX that I put together, just the 40-meter single band. I didn't even put it in a box. I had the circuit board laying on my desk, and I had it hooked to an antenna, and I had the little bitty electric mic hooked to it. The wires from the mic were about 2 inches long, and I made a contact on 40 meters, and my first contact with it was South Africa on sideband.
Look at that.
So my first contact was South Africa. I made 3 more contacts later that month, and they were all South Africa. So that's a nice little radio. Now, Dave, yours there looks that's a pretty interesting design.
I don't know, the version 1 or something when they first came out, and my microphone is a pen here, and I've got the little push to talk button right there. And it works. And I don't have any tools to make or cut a case, and that seems to be a common problem in the USA. So when this came out, I bought it with the case.
Well, that's good. Now, Farhan, what's the power on the new one? Is it about the same as the other one?
Yeah, actually the design has not changed much, and we are a little like Microsoft. I mean, we're constrained by the fact that it has to work with the previous versions as well. So almost all the changes that we have up till now are all, more or less cosmetic, or there are software upgrades. For instance, when we got this new one out, you'll see that it's got a nice touch display.
Yeah.
And the touch display actually uses the same 6 wires that the old LCD display used. So you could actually take that out and plug this in, buying the stuff off AliExpress or whatever for about $6 to $7, and that would work. The other thing was that we always try to see that these designs use components that are readily available, so that producing the kits is just one part of this, but this has to be open source, and it has to use components that are easily accessible to everybody, because the ultimate aim is that somebody should be able to say, all right, I'd like to scratch build this and build it on their own. And those parts should be available. So that's why we don't change the design much to see to it that the legacy of all the emails and collective experiences of the builds over the last 6-7 years stays with people, and you don't have to throw that away.
How many of those do you think are out in the world now?
Well, altogether we've sold about probably 12 to 13,000 of these. That's my estimate.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
You'll be like MFJ one day. Nearly everybody has an MFJ product. Everybody's going to have a micro BITX.
Well, yeah. Well, MFJ is a great inspiration, but this is more like a community affair, right? And we just picking and choosing things to do. At times there are things that we've done which are not very profitable. For instance, I don't know, I think Dave has one of those. We did this thing called Antuino, which is sort of an RF lab in a box. And very few people actually need it. But for a home brewer, it's actually very, very effective, because you have, it's almost like having a spectrum analyzer in your hand, right? So you have something which can sweep your crystals, something which can measure SWR, which can be used as a signal generator, which can actually measure distortion of your amplifiers or your transmitter. So it's a lot of things into one. Now that's stuff which not many people use, but for a home brewer, it can replace your oscilloscope, your frequency counter, your signal generators, your spectrum analyzers. It doesn't do a very good job of all these, but it does a fairly good job.
Well, all right, Dave. What do you think, man?
Well, I'm just very impressed with what you're doing, with what's available on that ventilator project. Somebody noted there they'd rather be on oxygen than a ventilator. A ventilator is life support. Whereas the oxygen can be therapeutic. But if you're gotten to the point of being on a ventilator, you're on life support. And the hope is that you'll get better while you're on life support. And of course, a lot of people who get to that point don't make it through. They're saying like 20% of the people who go on a ventilator end up dying. So I'm just very impressed with what you're doing, and congratulate you on the excellent progress.
Yeah. I'd just like to, talk about this mortality rate here a little. So the mortality rate is actually improving. It was 20% earlier. Now it's actually much better. And or rather the mortality rate is going down. The news is getting better because now they know how to ventilate, right? So what happened is that the regular ventilation machines, which are there in the hospitals, were meant for mostly 2 use cases. One was post-surgery, where you've undergone surgery and you've been sedated to such a level that your lungs don't work on their own. So you have to keep pushing air and then sucking them out to get oxygen going in and out. So that was one use case. And the other is people who are almost terminally ill or really severely ill, and you give them one chance to recover. Whereas the sort of ventilation required for most of the COVID patients is not so intensive, right? You don't have to sedate the patient. I mean, usually the ventilators, what they do is they put you to sleep so that you don't gag on it, and then they put they put a pipe all the way down to your lungs, where the pipe branches off into a like Y-shaped. So it goes in there, and that's how it works. So you have a pipe inside your mouth. Now, that's not the sort of thing. If you've seen the videos of patients, which are circulating around, they're actually wearing a thing like a helmet, right? And they're conscious, they're talking, and they're fine, except that inside the helmet there's pressured air coming in and out. Mm-hmm. Okay, so the outcomes with that sort of a system are much better. And the problem is that the hospitals were not equipped with this sort of thing because they had never foreseen these. I mean, the hospital ventilation systems are extremely sophisticated, complicated machines which can do a lot of other things, which are actually not required in these cases. So the sort of ventilation that the COVID patient requires, only those 20% that we're talking about need to go on to that sort of a ventilator. But for others, as long as there's pressured air with a mix of oxygen coming in and out, and you're controlling it, that actually is sufficient. And many people just wean off that without really going into the more intensive kind of ventilation system. So this is sort of a halfway house, and this is what will help a lot of people, and it will augment the capacity of of ventilation systems in the hospitals. That's our hope.
Mm-hmm. Well, good.
Well, Farhan, what time is it there right now? I'm trying to.
It's about 7 a.m. 7 a.m. But what's happened is, probably this is what's happening with all you guys, which is each day you sleep a little later and you start getting up a little later. So these days, because I was working with Gordon's team, I would sleep at about 3 a.m. and get up at about 9 a.m., which is pretty late by my standards. So last night I slept early and I got up early today.
Yeah. Okay. Well, hey, thanks a lot for sharing it with us tonight. We really enjoyed hearing some of the things you're working on now. Keep up the good work.
Yep. Thanks very much.
And I guess we'll let you go back to work now.
Yeah.
But
right.
you're
okay.
at work, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Well, guys. Hey, that's Farhan, VU2ESE, and all the way from India tonight. He got up really early to be on the show with us, so we thank him for being with us there.
Yeah.
And I know you had some other questions, Farhan, about some other video things you're doing. If you got more questions, shoot me an email or call me or Skype me, and we'll work with you.
Okay.
All right. Thanks a lot. Thanks, man.
Bye-bye.
All right. We'll be back in just a minute, everybody. We'll take a quick break here.
Get out and be active with ICOM's new IC705 and its optional multifunction backpack. The IC705 is your perfect QRP companion that has base station features and functionality at the tip of your fingers. It's a portable package covering HF 6 meters, 2 meters, and 70 centimeters. This compact rig weighs in at just over 2 pounds. It has RF direct sampling for most of the HF band and IF sampling for frequencies above 25 megahertz. It also has a large 4.3-inch color touchscreen with a live band scope and waterfall. Other features include 5 watts with the BP272, 10 watts with 13.8 volts DC. It also has sideband CW AM FM as well as full D-Star functionality. It has a micro USB connector and Bluetooth capability, integrated GPS with antenna and a GPS logger. It has a micro SD card slot. The speaker microphone comes standard, and it supports QRP operations. The perfect accessory for the IC705 is the optional backpack, the LC192, with a special compartment for your IC705, and it has room for accessories for soda, activations, or just a day in a park. Visit www.icomamerica.com/amateur for more information on ICOM radios.
LDG Electronics provides state-of-the-art antenna tuners for every amateur need. From QRP to QRO, fixed stations, portable and remote, an LDG tuner will match your radio to your antenna using our lightning-fast, proprietary tuning algorithms. LDG is a family-owned and operated company dedicated to bringing innovative, quality products to the amateur market. All LDG products carry a full 2-year warranty that is fully transferable. Support is only a phone call or email away. We're always here to help you. Visit us on the web at ldgelectronics.com.
Hey guys, and one other note. Let me get me on here. There we go. I'm here. Hey, one other note, guys. Check out Nuts and Bolts, man. A lot of good, got a lot of good electronic things to build in here and sources for parts. Nuts and Bolts. You'll even see our ad in here about our show. And it's cool. This magazine's been out about 50 years now. I remember it from a long, long, long time ago. Nuts and Bolts.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So, all right. Well, Dave, you know, this afternoon, I always turn the systems on here in the studio 4 or 5 hours early, just to make sure there's no problems.
Mm-hmm.
Because I've got about 4 or 5 computers all running here together, and I'll just do a side shot. You can see 1, 2, 3, 4, and just a whole bunch of stuff all interwoven. But anyway, so I turn it on. And the broadcast encoder here is dead. It did a Windows update. It would not boot up. So I thought I was gonna have to cancel the show tonight or run a rerun, but I was able to get the system recovered. So did a little kicking and a little resetting and taking stuff out, put a different hard drive in. It was working, and I took it out and put the original back in. Things started working. So it looks okay. I did an Acronis backup on it, so I got me a good backup on it. But you never know. This has been kind of a tough week for us here with things like that going on. And every night, you know, when we go to bed, we wonder where's the balloon. You know, every morning when we wake up or go to bed, we're wondering where it is, and we wait for it to pop up on radar, and we see it. And it hadn't always been easy to know exactly where, what time it was going to pop up, because we didn't know exactly where it was. Now, that brings me to the point of this. You know, right now I am looking at, I'm looking at Whisper here. And I'll tell you, this is not good. The last update we got was at 10:44 UTC. Last night,
That's long
this
time
morning,
ago.
whatever. We should have been on again. So I think we can surely safely say that our balloon is down and we lost it. Here's what we were facing right here. So that red spot right there is just about the area we moved into last night when we got the last transmission, where we had lost about 3,000, 4,000 feet. Some of those cloud tops, I measured one cloud top there at 49,000 feet. And of course, we were down to about 39. I think the storm took us down. It's unfortunate.
Sounds like you probably had some icing or something.
Yeah, we might have got some icing. Who knows? But you know, the interesting thing we thought, I mean, this is kind of a neat week, because 1 year ago, look at this. 1 year ago, we launched W5KUB1, April 11th, and on April 25th, it made it all the way to Japan, and it crashed in a storm in Japan. And where we were here, we were probably just 2 or 3 days out of Japan. We would have probably crossed Japan about the same time that one here died, almost to the day. But we didn't quite make it. But you know what? We're going to keep going. You know, we probably, somebody's told us we're very persistent. We probably launched more Pico balloons in 2 months that most people launch in, you know, 3 years. We've launched, I think, we've had 5 launches in the last 60 days. And so I think it's safe to say right now, we've lost this one during the show tonight. It didn't come back alive. So we're ready to roll W5KUB 18 out on the launch pad. We'll do a little testing first, and we'll get that guy in the air, and it will be an SBS balloon running hydrogen again, and we'll probably run again the little ICT tracker that I built under the microscope, designed by Edward on here, Y03 ICT. So we're going to get another one in the air, and I want to thank everybody that helped out to buy the SBS balloons. Last week, I think we asked if anybody wanted to help, and we had about 10 or 12 people that donated some cash to help us get the big, expensive balloon, and I think everybody saw it does fly a lot higher and a lot better, but you can't fight Mother Nature, and it takes luck, it takes Mother Nature, and but we will make it. I estimate that 1 out of 10 balloons is going to make it around the Earth. And we're number 9. Now we're going to launch number 9. So I think the odds are getting really good for us. The SBS balloons that we're using, there's one up right now that's been up 270 days, and it's still flying. So, you know, the hope is that we can put one up and it'll stay up 3, 4, or 5 months. You're not going to do that with a party balloon. A party balloon is going to come down in a very short time. But we'll roll out. We've got the other SBS on the launch pad, and we'll be moving with it.
Now, are you cooperating with other groups, university groups, or clubs, or something, in doing this?
Well, I've worked some with Eduardo Y03 ICT over in Romania. He is the one that designed the little bitty tracker I built. And this is the tracker that we're flying. No, that's not it. I'm sorry. That's the QRP Labs tracker. I'll show you, Dave. There's a lot of different trackers out there. Here's Bill Brown's tracker. We flew one of those. That one made it to Spain a couple weeks ago. We know about where it is. Hopefully we can get it rescued. That's one of Bill's build. The tractor that I've been flying that Edward designed is there in the picture there on the right. It's the little bitty one.
Good grief.
And that is built. That's using 0402 size chips. That's about the smallest chip possible. And you have to use a microscope to even see the part. They're so small. Yeah. And I built it under a microscope. But that little transmitter right there with GPS on it, it could have even set a record on this flight. Edward saw it. It transmitted 10,500 miles to Australia from probably just when it was starting to enter into Africa there. So about 10,000 miles, the little 10 milliwatts is picked up just everywhere. You know, it does really well. So I got to get another one of those back together, and we'll be flying that again because it's lighter. The entire payload, when I put the solar panels and everything on here, I can't get it as light as Edward does, but my entire payload with solar panels and everything was 11 grams. And that helps you with altitude. And, you know, 45,000 feet is just about the max you're going to fly under any circumstances. And we flew 45,000 miles, 45,000 miles per hour. I'm going crazy. We flew at 45,000 feet, just about the entire distance from Memphis to when we went down. The altitude was just really, really good there. So you know, we're gonna get it up again. There's Edwards right there, 3.9 grams with the solar panels on it and the GPS antenna on it. Look at that. Next to a AAA battery, and you know, it's really interesting. And he's even gone smaller. I gave up building this one 7 times. It's so small. but I can do it now. But he's even made it half size. Here's the board on the right that I had made and we built, and he's now got it down to half size. The board on the left, and you break the little tab off when you program it. So, it's there it is right there. That's the tire tracker and solar panels and 20-meter antenna that's rolled up there. So, back to the drawing board, guys. It's been a tough battle for us. We watch it every night. We wonder where it's going to be. We track it every 10 minutes. I'm making a log and tracking the altitude and where it is and where it's going. The predictions have been almost exactly 100% right. This is a prediction here from NOAA for our balloon, and it's right on. It doesn't vary hardly any at all. So, and that's like 5-6 days out, 7 days out. So, we'll be getting the next one ready. We'll start on it tomorrow. So, everybody, don't get discouraged, and get ready for another adventure. And we will. Get ready for another venture, and we'll start it probably this week. I'm gonna open the phone lines here since it's a little early. Maybe somebody's got questions for you, Dave. So we're gonna open the phone lines and see where our viewers out there might want to ask us. So let me put the phone number up on the screen. Okay, and let me see if I can get Dave in here with me. There we go. I got Dave in here, and we'll get the phone number on it. There we go. Okay. All right. Okay, computer. Audio. Almost got it ready to go. All right, so the phone line should be coming up. The phone number is on the screen. If anybody would like to call in and talk with Dave or me, the phone lines are open. 712-775-7270. And you'll have to put the little code in there, 4070551 hashtag or pound sign. When I was growing up, Dave, we called that pound sign.
Yeah,
I don't think they had hashtags back then,
Yeah, pound sign.
Yeah. All right, so let's see if anybody calls in. So it's been just really, really busy here with all the things going on, the balloons and various things. I'm about to get our house remodeling finished here, so getting in good shape there.
Oh my goodness. You're remodeling in the middle of this?
Yeah, the house, about half the house has been completely demolished for about 2 months. So we're back. We're back now, almost to get 100%. All right, come on out there, everybody. There are people out there are like telephone shy. I don't know. Look there. David said they called it a hashtag in England back when he lived here in the 70s. Hashtag back then. Probably I knew it as tic-tac-toe, man. That's all I probably knew it as.
Yeah, tic-tac-toe. Well, it was on the typewriter. It was called a pound sign, and you'd put, a number and then put the pound sign.
A typewriter. What is a typewriter, man?
Well, I'm glad you asked. I've got one right there on my table.
That's one of those electric whatever, right?
Nope,
No,
that's
it's not.
a manual typewriter.
Is that right? Boy, I loved it when the electric ones came out. You just hit those keys and, man, bang, 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 bang,
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. That's cool, man. So you're still using the typewriter there, man. Hey,
Well, I
nowadays,
use it for
nowadays
this, that,
we got computers and printers and things like, Word. so when you make a mistake on there, do you use a little correcting tape and back it up and type over it, or?
Well, I just type over it.
Oh, okay.
I've got a one down here. They still do sell
Oh.
typewriters.
All right,
And
hang on.
I've got one
hey,
that I got
okay.
from Staples.
Let me see.
Oh, is there
let me
somebody
see
in the line?
who's on the phone? Somebody called in. Who's there?
It's Danny.
Danny. Hello, Danny. How you doing, Danny? I'm sorry.
KI5EXY.
EXY. KI5 EXY. Danny. And Danny, where are you?
I'm in Conroe, Florida. Or excuse me, Conroe, Texas.
Texas. Okay. All right. Very good.
I've been watching you for a while, and I've been trying to, for the best of my abilities. I'm a new ham, and I'd like to know how to follow your balloon.
Okay. Well, look, several things. If you just want to follow it, it's real simple. Well, it's down right now, but we're going to do another launch. But look, Danny, if you'll just go to my website, w5kub.com, that's where you are right now watching the show. If you look at the top of in the menu, you'll see the word balloon in the menu. And if you click on the word balloon, it'll take you to our balloon page. And it'll show all the previous flights and information about them, pictures of what we used and what type balloons. But for each one of those, I've got 3 buttons that you can click on to track it. You can see it on APRS, you can see it on HabHub, or you can see it on Whisper. And what that'll do, like if you click on that top button on the balloon page, it will bring up the map, and it'll show you right where the balloon is. And you can click on the balloon, and it'll show you the altitude and speed and all that. So that's the easy way to track it. Now, some people want to try to receive it using Whisper, and most people aren't going to be. A lot of people won't be successful because even though it might transmit 8,000 miles or 10,000 miles, you may not hear it here because, Dave, I mean, how can we explain Whisper? There's like hundreds or thousands of people kind of all on top of each other on the same frequency. And this digital mode kind of, looks at the bandwidth there, and it pulls out all these different people. And so, you may not see the balloon, just like you don't hear people in Belgium talking, on your radio all the time, or in England. It's the same thing. Right now we're in China, so probably you wouldn't hear it. You're going to hear people closer. But if you go to that page, you can track the balloon very easily, and the next one will be set up on that same page there. So you're a new ham.
So
how long have you been a ham?
Let's see. I got my ticket last August.
Okay. All right.
Congratulations.
And what license do you have there?
Technicians.
Okay, the tech. Okay. Are you interested in trying to upgrade to general?
Yeah. I was a telephone data guy for 52 years, and they laid me off in November. Gave me a retirement package, so I'm going to go full time into the ham radio and upgrade to general.
Okay, well, you'll enjoy it. I mean, technician's a good license to get started, but
these guys are about 10 seconds behind the phone call in my ear.
Yeah, when you move up to general, you'll see a big difference in when you get those HF privileges and all the things you can do, and you'll enjoy it probably 50 times more. But congratulations on getting that tech license. That's your first step.
Yeah, and I've got a bunch of training videos that can help you get to general.
Yeah, I've been streaming a lot of your stuff.
Oh, good. I hope it's helpful.
Well, great. Well, he knows you. All right, very good.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
All right. I think we got another person. Let's see who else. Just, hey, Danny, you don't have to run off. Just stay on the phone if you want to and join in on the conversation. But we've got another caller. We got another caller. Who is that? Kim. Kim, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. And good to be speaking with you, Tom and Dave. And my wife and I, she's KC6CLC, and I am KC6ARY. We've been following your balloon exploits with a lot of interest, and I think it's a fantastic pursuit. And I guess we came in late on the stream tonight, so I guess it went down. Is that right?
Well, we're pretty certain. Our last reception from it was nighttime. It was just going into China, and it was nighttime last night, this morning, whatever. But it was just starting to get dark, and we went right over a big storm, and we saw a drop of 4,000 feet in altitude. Now, typically that doesn't mean it's coming down, but since it got dark, we didn't get any more reports after that. So we don't know what happened. Did it go back up? Did it recover? Did it go down? So the window now to see it would have been probably this hour, right now, and we've been watching Whisper and no report. So I think it's pretty safe to say it went down. It went a long ways. It went through and over a lot of storms at 45,000 feet, but this one got it. And you may not have heard me, but we'll get Dash 18 ready to launch here probably the next 5, 6, 7 days. We're getting a new.
Well, that's really inspirational. We'll look forward to that. But who knows? Maybe 17 recovered. But yeah, we'll still be following.
And let me tell you something. I think the area it's in, I mean, it's possible it could recover, but the chances, the odds are very, very small right now. It's daylight there. We've got solar power. I think it would have showed up over the last couple hours. There are balloons. I have friends that have balloons up, particularly the one that's been up 250 or 70 days, flying this very same balloon. It's gone in the dark. It's gone quiet for over 30 days at a time. And it has got up into the Arctic area, and it gets kind of sucked up into the Arctic up there where it's dark. And you don't know if it's up or down, and you don't hear from it for 30 or 40 days. And then the next thing you know, boy, it pops out of there, and you start getting a report, and it tells you where it is for a day or two, and then it's going to go back up in the Arctic. So I think this one's down. We're going to go ahead and start working on the backup plan.
Well, my wife and I got our licenses a year ago, February, and we've kind of discovered that there's a million things in ham radio, and this is certainly one of the interesting ones. I'm a general now, and I'm watching, Dave, I'm watching your videos on Extra right now, and also working with the Michael Burnett book, and hoping to take my exam before the test changes, but it shouldn't make that difference, not much difference, I suppose, even if it's after, but hoping to take my exam before June. But if not, I'm sure it'll be fine going with the new exam. So thank you both for the interest and contributions to our enjoyment of the hobby.
Man, there's so
I'm
much.
glad the videos are helpful.
Yeah, there's so much to do in this hobby. Over the years, I've done amateur TV, CW, sideband. I started out in AM. I've done a lot of satellite work now, and now ballooning. There's just all kinds of things you can do with ham radio. Plenty to keep you busy and learn too. It's a learning hobby.
Yeah, a lot of learning. Well, I'll let the next caller talk. From KC6ARY, myself, and KC6CLC73, and thanks a lot, fellas.
Okay, well, thank you for calling. Goodbye.
73.
All right, guys, come on, don't be shy. Call us. So we still got Danny on the phone. Danny, you still there?
Yes, sir. So you're saying that the balloon you launched about 6 days ago already made it to China?
Yeah, it made it to China.
Okay.
We were going into China last night, and we hit a storm. We hit a big,
Wow.
a big bad storm. Yeah,
Yeah, I watched the live feed of the launch.
yeah. Well, unfortunate, but it happens. It's luck.
Yeah.
It's some skill. It's luck in Mother Nature. We're waiting on, let's see, today's Tuesday. We should have a new tank of hydrogen by Friday. We had to order some more hydrogen. We've sent so many balloons up, our tank is empty. And it was funny, we were going for, a high-end dollar balloon, maximum altitude. Hydrogen will get you higher than helium will by about 2,000 feet. And we were supposed to put exactly 8 grams of free lift into the balloon. So we turn the hydrogen tank on, and we get 6 grams in it, and then we run out of hydrogen. Now, 6 grams will lift it, and 6 grams will fly it, but it may fly at 39,000 feet. So we needed 8 grams to get to our altitude. So we had 6 grams of hydrogen, and I happened to have a little Walmart party balloon tank, like you blow up helium, you blow up a little, the birthday balloons with. Now, that helium is not pure helium. It's a very bad mixture of air and helium, so it's not the best. A pure grade helium will fly higher than that Walmart stuff will. But anyway, so we had this special blend of gas. It was 6 grams of hydrogen with 2 grams of helium in there. And we were flying so good, man. We went to 45,000 feet almost within hours, and we stayed at 45,000 the entire way across the ocean in Africa. We thought we had invented the perfect secret formula for this. So I think, though, the next one we're going to go all hydrogen. We just got caught, running out of hydrogen. Hey, Dave, one of the things that came up on a show here months ago, I made a statement that hydrogen won't leak out of the balloon as quickly as helium. And I got challenged on that, and I didn't really have the right answer. But that is true. And here's the reason. Hydrogen, it doesn't stay in a monomolecule. And what chemists have told me now, this week I've learned, and Edward explained this, was that 2 hydrogen molecules will combine or stick together. So the two molecules of hydrogen that are sticking together are larger than a single helium. So there's the answer. Whoever it was brought that up about 6 months ago. There's your answer. What do you think, Dave?
Well, it's possible. I know that hydrogen, if your balloon is watertight, that's not good enough for either of those gases. They'll escape. And this was a problem they faced with the Zeppelins, was how to contain that much hydrogen or helium. And they used to use something they called goat beater skin or something like that. It was the lining of the stomach of a goat. Took a lot of goats.
Yeah.
But to create an enormous bag that would actually hold the hydrogen or the helium, because they made the Zeppelin made airships that they sold to the United States Navy. So a couple of those were German made, and that was a real challenge, holding the helium.
Mm-hmm. And helium, and Bill Brown's in here. He's also talking about, he's also talking about just what I mentioned here. And I just asked Bill, if you want to join us on video, call in, Bill. We'll put you on the show. So, when I first started playing with the hydrogen, I thought, well, this is kind of dangerous stuff, hydrogen. I mean, in chemistry lab, you do electrolysis and you get the hydrogen in one bottle and the oxygen in the other, and you pick it up and you stick a match under it, it pops, So hydrogen's real flammable. So, but the bottom line is, we still have all of our eyebrows. We still have all of our fingers. You know, after using hydrogen, I'm getting more comfortable with it now, and I understand it. Hydrogen really won't explode unless you have oxygen mixed with it. If it's just pure hydrogen, it's just going to burn. And you know, you
It's
look
going to
back
burn
at,
from the outside of the gas
yeah,
ball in, and I mean it's no more dangerous than say acetylene,
yeah, which could still be dangerous, right? You know,
which can
if
still
you
be
look at the Hindenburg, if you look at the Hindenburg, you
used
know,
every day.
yeah, if you look at the Hindenburg, it didn't explode like a person would normally think it would. It just burned, you know.
Well, there are a number of really valid questions about the Hindenburg. They've not been able to, because I mean, it was coated with that stuff, dope, the dope that they painted the thing with
Yeah.
to keep the outside waterproof. It was highly flammable, but they've done studies that if it were just the dope burning, the dope could not propagate a flame as fast as the Hindenburg actually went. And the same with hydrogen. Hydrogen burns. I think it's just in the infrared. You don't see a visible flame. So nobody's ever solved the question in the Hindenburg, just exactly what happened.
Now we've got Bill on here, and he's mentioning nitrocellulose dope. That's what it is, nitrocellulose dope.
Yeah, the stuff's very flammable.
You know, too, you know, helium, and you know, the I think the Hindenburg, they were wanting to run or had maybe earlier run helium in there, but
They
I think
never did. Germany didn't have the helium.
they didn't have it. What
Only
what
the
it was,
US
they
had
couldn't
the
get it.
helium.
They couldn't get the helium from the United States, so they had to use
Yeah,
hydrogen.
give it to
So I think that's, you know, and then of course we know the result of hydrogen in it. But you know, helium is a rare element on Earth. There's not that much of it. It comes from radioactive something in the ground when they do oil and gas, I think. And I hear
Yeah,
the
it
government
comes up
sets
a
the
little bit
price.
with natural gas, but if you release helium into the air, it'll actually float up and out of the atmosphere.
Yeah, yeah.
It won't stay in the atmosphere.
So there's, you know, and the government sets the price on, I think, on that weekly. And I know we bought back when we started all this, we bought a tank of hydrogen and a tank of helium, and the tank of
Yeah.
helium was almost double what hydrogen is.
Hmm.
And hydrogen is just a better gas to fly with there. Oh, let's see. Mostly from 7 gas wells in Texas. That's where it comes from. We got Bill on here, our balloon expert. Works for NASA. Has thousands of launches, and he knows all the ins and outs of this. Helium is
What is
helium
the
is
Weather
a
Service
rare
balloons?
product. It's a rare product. And during the wartime, I think we just didn't want to give it away.
What do the Weather Service balloons use? Do they use hydrogen or helium?
I'm guessing that they use helium, and now Bill can tell us. He's in here. I would think. Well, I don't know, to tell you the truth. You know, back when I was in college, we got in a little bit of trouble. We were launching a balloon with natural gas in it. We made this big old long balloon out of plastic clothes bags, and we're filling it up with natural gas, and it will float. You know, not good, but it'll float. It'll float. Anyway, I had a friend at the FAA, and he called Little Rock to say, let's see if we can watch it and report back to the guys. They're going to do this. Next thing I know, I'm called into the dean's office at college.
Yeah.
So I guess that's better not to fly, 30 cubic feet of natural gas up in the air. Probably. Hey, I think we may have somebody new on the phone. We got somebody else on there? Who's on the phone? We got Horace. Is that Horace? Are you there?
Yeah, this is Horace.
Hey, Horace, how you
DRW,
doing?
November 7, Delta Romeo Whiskey.
No, November 7B?
Delta.
DRW.
BRW, okay. All right, how you doing, man? What's going on?
Oh, enjoyed the show. Really good subject, and enjoyed the balloons and the discussion. Would recommend a chemical engineer would be a little hesitant to say that hydrogen is not a dangerous chemical.
Well, yeah, but like Dave, are you a chemical engineer?
Yeah, I am. And
okay, well, hey, we're amateurs on this side for sure.
I think you got to check out each experiment and consider each launch and how you're doing it and the hookup and all of that.
Yeah.
And, run a little safety check.
Yeah, well, like Dave was saying, even acetylene is kind of dangerous, So,
I am, yes.
Yeah. Well, hey, Dave, maybe we could fly one with acetylene. I wonder what kind of altitude or lift we can get with acetylene.
I don't think you're going to get a lot of lift with that.
Probably not.
Yeah. So you got to be a little careful. Best thing to do is plan a little safety ahead of the project and just make sure you have some sort of mechanism for doing leaks and know the chemistry and that sort of thing. But you don't want to say it's not a hazardous chemical. Yeah, it sure is. And, you can pick glass out of eyes and things like that. If you're not
Well, I know it is.
PPE and all your safety, and that's sort of what they're teaching in most of the universities and schools and that sort of thing. I'm a long, many years out of the university and the schools, but I have practiced chemical engineering for that length of time.
Yeah, and Horace, I don't know, and this may not make a lot of difference. We've got a lot of gas in the bottle itself, but when we launch these balloons, we may only have 1 or 2 liters of gas in a balloon. So it's not a whole lot. That's probably not enough to destroy your home, is it?
Well, do it outside.
Can't really answer that. I worry more about PPE and face and eyes and things like that. But if you can blink them and it doesn't hurt when you're done, and you can see something inside spot, you probably survive.
Yeah.
However, you don't want to get in that situation, if you know what I mean.
Well, and hey, what you're saying is great information here, and I think we will start wearing safety glasses and stuff from now on.
Oh, good, thanks.
Yeah, we'll do that.
I appreciate that, because that's sort of what it's taught in practice and things like that, and I think you'll be safer.
Yeah, I was a little worried.
A question on a slightly different subject. We've got some people, you show as part of it, and ham in general is part of it. They're really interested in becoming a ham, and maybe you guys discussed it before, but how can you do that these days? I'm a VE and that sort of thing, but what do you do for tests? Anybody got any good ideas?
I know the league has been spending a lot of time on that very issue. There are a handful of VE teams and VECs, other than the league, that have developed protocols for giving tests online. And they use things like PDFs that can be filled in and signed and all of that sort of thing. Nobody has really worked out foolproof protocols for anything, and certainly not for more than one examinee at a time. So by the time they get that figured out, the COVID-19 crisis will be over, I'm sure. But we'll have it in place for the next time, because I know out here in western Colorado, people have to travel pretty long distances to get to a test site. So it'd be nice if they could do it online. There's a whole system of government organizations and other organizations that administer tests through test sites. Like I'm going to be soon going to take my ground school test for flying, and I'll go to an FAA approved testing location. They're not run by the FAA, they're a private company. And all they do is administer tests. They proctor tests. And, we didn't look into that when we did the VE program. We just went off and did something entirely different. But I hope that this COVID thing will end sufficiently before July 1st that people who are studying for the current exam can take their test.
I agree with you. I hope it does too. But on your aeronautics there, let's see, you probably have a paper test. You might even have a test in some sort of device on the ground. But do you ever you have to get in the plane with another licensed pilot and actually take it off and land it? And that's sort of what I'm thinking for ham.
That's a separate
maybe
test
we ought to go back to
entirely.
where we
There's
can let the
orals
final
and
approval
there's
be
a
say
flying
the
test.
club actually getting hams online. Out of the hundreds of tests I've given, I would say maybe 50 of them, every 50% get on the air.
Well, I've been a VE for many years too, and I think my experience is about the same as yours. A lot of people take the test and think they're done with ham radio and they move on to something else. And I'm just looking at, the number of hams in the U.S. versus the number of people who are members of the American Radio Relay League, which has only about 150,000 members. I have a hard time convincing new hams to join the league so they can at least get the magazine. Good grief, But I think you're right. I worked for 10 years with a youth group in Boulder who was teaching ham radio to youth. And the trick is to stay constantly involved with them, give them activities, give them leadership opportunities, and meet with them weekly. And then the kids get on the air and upgrade. And we put over 270 kids through that program before the person in charge of it passed away. So it can be done. But, we often, as Elmers, think that our job is to help others just get their license. And I mean, it really, the best Elmers go well beyond that and really handhold the new guy through getting on the air and learning how to do it and enjoy it and get beyond FT8 and so on.
Yeah, certainly. It sounds like we've had some joint and familiar experiences that we've both seen the same thing. Also, work with youth and tend to think of working with youth as not working about ham radio. It's working about the electromagnetic spectrum. It's working about physics. It's working about chemistry. Oh, yeah, it does happen to have a radio as a lab that's fairly safe, maybe safer than the chemistry lab, being the chemical engineer that's scared of chemicals. Back to you.
Yeah, I did a feature for QST. It was in the online edition to QST. I followed a group of the people who graduated from our Bark Junior program, Boulder Amateur Radio Club Junior Division, and I did a 10 years later feature. And I found several graduates from 10 years before and found out that very nearly every one of them who had been active with the Bark Junior group was at that point in either undergraduate or graduate college. And almost all of them had chosen STEM careers. And I was very proud of these kids and what they had done. One was developing small satellites as part of a graduate studies project, and another was a game developer. And I mean, they just went into technical fields. And what these kids did as a youth in ham radio really affected their educational outcomes and career outcomes.
Hi, that's mirrors my experience exactly. And then when you look at the professors, the master's degree, the PhDs, the so forth, if they got a good start in high school or grade school or ahead, guess where they wound up? The same thing that you're talking about. So that's why I tend to focus in that area, because you get a good leverage on the kind of effort and time you've put in. So that's exactly the same experience that I've seen. And so the reason for doing it is to learn to experiment if you can get the licenses. So what license? Well, extra by the time you get out of high school, and then you start from there to get your master's and PhD. And, figured out how to get the extra out of high school is pretty easy, but you're not a ham then. You just got a ticket to drive, but you have to learn to be the experimenter that you're talking about and develop the love for the STEM subjects. Back to you.
Yeah, I agree. It's just, the thing that attracts youth to ham radio is other youth. And a bunch of old guys who think they know what youth want don't. I was at a ham fest a couple years ago. It was the ARRL Rocky Mountain Convention. And at lunchtime, the Rick Roderick was getting up and bemoaning the lack of youth in amateur radio. And I got up and I says, well, in the next hour, there's going to be a presentation in the next room by several youth who are hams. Why don't we go ask them? And you know how many of the league leadership came to that meeting? Exactly 0, which was a real shame, because there were some very sharp youth there who were presenting what they had done with what they had learned. And, if you want to know what youth want in ham radio, ask them. I when I was at Dayton this last year, they had booths there from other national ham radio organizations next to the ARRL booth. And one was the German DARK, Deutscher Amateur Radio Society or Club or whatever. And they had several youth. They've had a lot of good experience with youth in Europe. They had this thing called YOTA, Youth and Amateur Radio. And I talked to several. There were several there that were either in their late teens or early 20s. And I asked them, how come Europe is having so much more success getting youth into amateur radio? And boy, did they unload on me. They had all kinds of ideas. Basically, they're looking for some sort of organization. They're looking for challenges. They're looking for mentors to help them through that. And, a once a month meeting with a bunch of old guys is not what the youth are looking for. They're looking for, some sort of a blend of maker and ham radio to where they're involved. The youth in Europe are very involved in contesting, and I think more contesting than DXing. Because they want the challenge of it, and they like doing it on a team basis, organized teams and so on. They had lots of good ideas and were very enthusiastic about it. Great kids.
Yeah, copy. And I agree with your experience and have seen exactly the same thing. Speaking of contesting with youth, they really enjoy it. And believe it or not, are quite confident at it. There's some very good CW games that you can find videos where youth have really excelled in that area. But what they're really doing, now where we are now, this might be a strange thing to say, but we're talking about learning to program biocomputers, and it's the if you learn how to use the technical aspects and STEM aspects of ham radio, and then learn how to program the biocomputer, just like Mom taught you to talk, but happen to learn it on CW, then you can learn just about anything as far as a language or mathematics or anything else along that line. and you'll see some of them are really good at that, in that contesting and the spirit of competition, and then learning to been cut wire and the excitement of experimentation. That's what really puts them off to the big start in the university ham clubs.
Yeah.
So Horace, I don't know if you've checked any our nets, or I don't remember seeing you in the chat room. Are you relatively new to our show?
This is all about I've called in several times.
Oh,
it's
have
the first
you?
time I ever got on. And,
You never got on?
Time.
Okay. Well, maybe it was our phone system last night. We can take up to 1,000 simultaneous calls now, so you should be able to get in here every Tuesday now, okay?
Okay, and I'll say 73s, and thanks for the discussion.
Yeah, I think it's probably time for us to go ahead and shut this thing down. Hey, thanks for calling in, Horace, and I don't know if Danny is still on there. Danny, thank you for calling in. And
you're welcome. 73.
I think we had a good discussion tonight. I enjoyed it, and I'm going to sleep a little late in the morning. I've been having to get up every single day really, really early because we have workers coming here to, tear the floor up or put floor down or paint or whatever. So I have to get up early. So I don't have to get up early tomorrow. We just about got it all finished, The next thing I've got to do now over the next few days is start working on W5KUB-18, get it ready for launch. We're going to make it around the world this time, guys. I bet you. Like I said, 1 out of 10 is going to make it, and we'll be on number 9. So you can see how close we're getting here.
Yeah, very good. Good
Okay,
luck to you.
That sounds really great. Maybe we can get some college clubs since they've got some time signed in too. Thanks a lot, guys.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Tune in next week. Join us next week. Join our 40-meter net next Tuesday night, 5:30 p.m. Central Time, 7180 for our net. Join our Facebook group. If you're not a member of our Facebook group, you're in the wrong place. We've got 9,500 hams in our Facebook group, W5KUB. Just type it in, and you'll be approved instantly. Love to have you, and that way you can keep up with our next launch and just all kinds of things going on in the show. We think Katie will probably be back with us next week. She was going to try to be with us tonight, but she didn't make it tonight, but that's okay. So 73 to everybody. Dave, 73 to you.
73.
And we'll see everybody next week. Thanks for watching, everybody.
So you're saying I can ask this cat any question?
The cat is connected to the computer. You just type in the question, it will read his mind. There the answer comes.
You're the man! I've been looking for this for weeks.